Hey film fans, you're watching Craig's Film Reviews. It's your boy Craig. Been gone for a while, but I'm back. A little bit older, a little bit wiser, a little bit tubbier, a little bit less hairy, but I'm back now. Back, so all the film directors better run and hide because I'm back. I'm here to judge your movies from the safety of my own armchair. So we're back, and this week I'm going to be looking at the new film about the life of Elton John, Rocketman.
So how does a fat boy from nowhere get to be a soul man?
You gotta kill the person you were born to be in order to become the person you want to be.
I'm thinking of changing my name to Elton.
But that's my name.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you could be the best-selling artist in America if you desire.
I was trying to do something bold. Why are you still something flashy?
Can you even play the piano in those?
Let them know who you are.
We've got Taron Edgerton, who played Eggsy. He's most famous for playing Eggsy in the Kingsman movies, and he also appears in Legend, the Tom Hardy, Reggie Kray and Ronnie Kray movie. He's playing Elton John in this one. We've also got Richard Madden from Game of Thrones and Bodyguard of TV fame, those TV shows. He's playing John Reed, his manager slash lover. Jamie Bell's in it. He plays, obviously from Billy Elliot. He plays Bernie Taupin, the Elton John's writing partner who wrote his lyrics for him. And who else is in it? We got Stephen Graham as their record producer from Line of Duty and This Is England. Who else we got in it? We got Bryce Dallas Howard from Jurassic World and The Village. She's playing his mum, Elton John's mum, even though she's only 8 years older than Taron Edgerton. There is times in the movie where she looks a little bit too young for it, but this one's directed by Dexter Fletcher, who some people may remember. He was a child actor. Most famous, his first film was Bugsy Malone, where he played Babyface. Then he appeared in loads of children's TV shows such as Press Gang, and was the Games Master. Took over from Patrick Moore for one series for the Games Master. He also, as an actor, as an adult actor, he appeared in a lot of Guy Ritchie films like Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, and Matthew Vaughn films like Layer Cake. And Matthew Vaughn produces a lot of the films that Dexter Fletcher now directs. His career started with the comedy drama Wild Bill. Then he went on to make the Sunshine on Leith, which is the Scottish set musical about the Proclaimers, using the songs from the Proclaimers. Then we had Eddie the Eagle. So Dexter Fletcher, so this is what I'm kind of going on about Bohemian Rhapsody, was interestingly, Bryan Singer, the director of Bohemian Rhapsody, has a reputation of being very difficult and not turning up for work, and apparently he got very bad on Bohemian Rhapsody. He fell out with Rami Malek, the actor. They wouldn't work together. He refused to turn up to set a lot of the time, so eventually he was fired with 2 weeks of the production left remaining. The producers of Bohemian Rhapsody had seen some footage that Dexter Fletcher had filmed for Rocketman and asked him to come and step in as a last minute emergency replacement for a singer, and he actually filmed the last 2 weeks of filming of Bohemian Rhapsody and oversaw a lot of the editing and post-production on that film. So there is kind of a link between these 2 movies, and I think it's a bit of a shame that Rocketman's been released so soon after Bohemian Rhapsody, because that film was so popular, inexplicably so, but it's so popular that Rocketman's going to feel like a cheap cash-in, and some of the adverts did make it look a bit like it was hey, you liked Bohemian Rhapsody, you're going to love Rocketman, because it's the same thing, but it's not. It's totally different. It's a much more ambitious film. It's a much more entertaining film, I think. It's a much more fits the character of the person that we're the subject of the biopic much more than Bohemian Rhapsody, which is a very mainstream, very straight down the line biopic, which of a man like Freddie Mercury, who was anything but mainstream, anything but conventional. We've got Elton John in this one, another man who's anything but conventional, who's lived a very extravagant life, a very excessive life, and this movie matches that. It doesn't. It's very flamboyant, like the main character. In this way, it's not a straight biopic in the way that Bohemian Rhapsody tried to be like a straight drama, and just had them. The songs were only really in it when they did performances, when they were performing. Whereas this one, it's not. There are some moments like that, but it's mainly like a musical based on. It's almost like a West End musical version of Elton John's life, where the songs anachronistically, it opens with him as a kid singing The Bitch Is Back, and then Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, which obviously he didn't sing as a kid, he sang it as released them when he was older, but they're performed as musical numbers with song and dancing, very very well choreographed, some very ambitious choreographed dance sequences from Fletcher there, very impressively handled as well.
Pretty tight in here tonight. I'm looking for a dolly who'll see me right. I'ma use a little muscle to get what I need. I'ma take a little drink and shout out, she's with me. Can't pull out the sounds that I really like. All the sounds of a switchblade and a motorbike. I'm a juvenile product of the working class, with the front floor till the bottom of a glass.
And it tries to use these in a way like a lot of best musicals do, that it highlights the inner life, the emotional life of Elton John. So for instance, maybe it's a bit too on the nose, but there's a few scenes where he has an argument with his parents as he's older, and they're angry at his stubbornness and his refusal to listen and change, and then it turns into him singing "Sorry Seems to Be the Hardest Word." And then in this one, unlike Bohemian Rhapsody, which kind of used a combination of Rami Malek and Freddie Mercury's voice himself and a Freddie Mercury impersonator to kind of do the performances of the songs, this one actually uses Taron Egerton's own singing voice, and he's a good singer. And one of the things I liked about Egerton's performance is that he doesn't, unlike some other people who've played famous living people that we all know and recognise, he doesn't try to go for an exact copy of imitation of Elton John. He gives a performance, tries to create a three-dimensional character, and I think having him sing as well gives a bit more of a consistency, a bit more of an emotional truth to his performance. And as Elton, he's ably backed up by some great performances from the rest of the cast. Richard Madden, he's becoming a bit of definitely one to watch at the moment. His performance in Bodyguard won a lot of awards, and he also shows off that he's got a nice set of pipes. He can really hold a tune, and plays the more sinister. See, again, another link to Bohemian Rhapsody, because obviously these two singers existed in the same period of time in British rock and roll in the late 70s and 80s, early 80s. There was a lot of overlap between them in their careers. And John Reid, who was the manager of both in the Bohemian Rhapsody, played as a more sympathetic figure by Aidan Gillen from Game of Thrones. And then Richard Madden, another Game of Thrones alumni, plays John Reid here, but he's more, in this one, he's a more sinister figure, more manipulative figure, who is kind of the villain of the piece, I suppose. He manipulates Elton John and bullies him, and a lot of the film is about him trying to escape from his control. Jamie Bell, again, a great actor. He kind of plays the more level-headed one of the two. He's the guy who wants to be in the shadows, while Elton wants to be out on the stage, wants to be the centre of attention. And Jamie's character, Bernie Taupin, very important to Elton John's career. He wrote the lyrics for all of his songs, well, for the majority of his songs. He's very good. Bryce Dallas Howard, I think I mentioned at the beginning that she plays his mum. Great performance. I didn't realise it was her at first. Great accent, British accent. She looks like a working class mum. But as the story progressed over the years, and she was supposed to play an older woman, the makeup job didn't really work. I don't quite think she's convinced as his mum a lot of the time. She's not that much older. Like we said, she's only 8 years older than Taron Egerton himself. The best thing about the films are some of the really great musical sequences. A few of my favourite moments were the Honky Cat montage with Richard Madden duetting with Taron Egerton. That's when it's kind of like the montage of his spending spree and his excess. Again, it finds some really interesting ways to go around the thing without doing it in a cliched way. We could have seen the usual montage, and there's a little bit of that in there, whereas like the the montage of everything that his singles rising up the charts, we've seen a million times before. They kind of try and avoid that, and they try and what Fletcher tries to do is show it in a more expressive way in like a musical. In these kind of very well choreographed sequences that show the passage of time, develop the story onwards, and find the emotional point in the songs. Even though they're kind of not in the right timeline, they find the right kind of songs for the right kind of moments. And I just thought it was a much more interesting way. It's a very funny film. It's a very entertaining film. I mean, a film about Elton John. He's going to have a lot of flamboyance, a lot of panache, and it really worked. And then Fletcher understands this, and he really tries to match the character of the man that he's kind of tell the story of through quite dynamic visuals, some great recreations of the songs, great recreations of the period, and it's just a very funny, entertaining film. It can be quite a moving film in some ways. Maybe not, doesn't quite have that gut punch ending of Bohemian Rhapsody. Because maybe Elton's life doesn't have the tragedy of Freddie Mercury's life being cut short, so there isn't quite that emotional gut punch ending that you get at the end of a Bohemian Rhapsody. A few problems with it. It seems a bit. It doesn't quite seem epic enough in the same way someone like. Okay, I don't need to go back to Bo Rap, but again, it's a very that hasn't got that. None of the shows have got that impact of the Live Aid performance. There's nothing quite like that. There's a very good moment halfway through where he performs in the Troubadour Club for the first time in LA, and again it shows that way of showing the emotion of the sequence expressively, impressionistically, by instead of just having him go like, wow, this is really like, this is the best I've ever felt. I've never felt like this before. It actually has him raising everyone, lifting off in zero gravity off the floor, because it's meant to be this is the moment. This is when he realises this is where he's supposed to be. This is him rising up. His career's taking off, and like the end of the Rocketman sequence, he actually turns into a rocket and launches up into the sky. It sounds silly, sounds very camp, but then there's Elton John. We're talking about Elton John here, so I think it's appropriate. I like the fact that it doesn't try to do every moment of his life, which is another mistake a lot of biopics do. It tries to recreate every single moment of his life and go, this happened and this happened and this happened. It does go for, like, we don't get like anything like a moment where you could have done, and one way you maybe could have done it, maybe I don't think might have been appropriate, was have him ending singing Candle in the Wind at Diana's funeral to get that real emotional gut punch ending, but that's not the direction, and I think wisely it avoids a lot of that stuff to tell a more entertaining, funny movie. I think some bits were kind of overlooked. His marriage to Renata, it's kind of done in one scene, and I think maybe you could have minded a little bit more of the drama from there. His disastrous marriage to Renata, and then one thing it does get right over Bohemian Rhapsody is that we're telling the life of an extravagantly gay man who lived the gay life in every way, who lived to excess with drugs and drink, much as Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody was very coy, obviously not wanting to upset the sensibilities of a lot of mainstream audiences. So this film actually features sex scenes between two men. It's got a great scene in the club where it's kind of again impressionistically shows his descent into debauchery, and it's kind of done like as if it's a gay like a San Francisco nightclub, which again it shows a lot more courage to show those things and depicts it as it was. It's the 21st century now, guys. Those should be afraid to depict those kind of things. And maybe this is one of the reasons why maybe Rocketman will probably be not as praised, not as loved as Bohemian Rhapsody, unfairly, because I think it's a much better film. Because it takes risks. It's a little bit weird, it's a little bit camp, it's a little bit over the top. It's much more in your face. Like I said, it's got a lot more it's got a bit more of a harder edge with the sexual scenes and the drug abuse scenes. It's a much kind of it's going to upset a few people, like Elton John would love. I'm sure he would love that. So overall, I think I'd recommend Rocketman. It's a much better film. 2 thumbs up. Much better film than Bohemian Rhapsody. And even if you don't, like I said, I don't want to keep saying it's better than Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm not shitting on that movie. It's a perfectly okay movie, but I think Rocketman overall is just it's a really entertaining roller coaster ride through a man who's not only incredibly talented but has lived a very interesting life worthy of screen adaptation. So thanks for watching, guys. Just a little quick video there. Hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully I'll be back on this a bit more. Been busy for a while. Back now with a vengeance, hopefully. And so if you like what you saw, hit like. If you want to see more of my videos, hit subscribe. I do very occasionally do hopefully a podcast with a few of my colleagues called Screaming Into the Void, where we just talk about films and TV. Come on with videos maybe in the pipeline. I do need to finish off my part 2 of my analysis of David Cronenberg's The Flyer. Alien 3 video might be coming soon. I don't know if anyone's interested in that, but I love that film. A lot of people don't, but I love it. There may be, I don't want to commit myself to this too much, but maybe I'll talk about Game of Thrones, but I think that's done to death now. It wasn't very good, but maybe I'll do another one, or maybe I'll do my own video of that. We'll see. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks very much, guys.